Chapter 7. No one is supposed to stop at a green light. Pedestrians and cyclists both have an innate ability to walk onto roads with a type of confidence to drive anyone nuts. As a driver, you tend to be fully aware of individuals not being fully aware of their surroundings. Yet, you are expected to be cautious enough to stop at a red light. On the contrary, being able to identify a green light in the present time is similar to being in the zone and being conscious of it. You see, the value is not so much about being in total self-awareness for all eternity, rather being aware just enough. Enough to self-assess your current situation, enough to self-assess how much push should be present in this shove, for instance. We've all heard of a distinct melody being used when someone reads their phone number out loud to us. In Sweden, it could sound like this: 070 750 5434. Although, when read in an unconventional melody, chances are you will stop for a moment. Now you'll be extra attentive the second time hearing it. It's not necessarily that you'd ask them to read their number in a melody that you appreciate, but rather expect them to repeat the way they read their number. Though this time you'll be anticipating the unique melody. This time you'll be more open-minded and attentive in expecting the unexpected. Wouldn't a surfer always prepare for an expected wave? The goal is to get good at anticipating or calculating when an unexpected event may start to become expected. Does the surfer set the same intensity into an expected wave before or once she's in the water? And when it occurs, she acts accordingly. If you're able to prompt your environment enough, you'll be able to literally drive through all of the green lights that you'll be facing that day. But with a sense of confidence at full speed. Let the unexpected become expected, and let your action plan act accordingly to the situation at hand. It's not so much a question about having the right mindset, rather a matter of which prompted narrative you tell yourself. An incident that always happens before the main incident is more important than you might be treating it. If you only focus on the end result of an incident, then, my friend, it may be too late. This mindset will help you walk through life's repeated incidents. But prompting yourself before the scenario will help honoring the code I told myself I would follow through with an action plan. Yes, this time in an active state. Now imagine for a moment that you're a stressed and tired student at the end of your graduating year. After a long day of procrastinating from studying, you decide to walk back to your dormitory. Upon arrival, the first thing you notice is the thick book you've avoided the past couple of days. You acknowledge the book when you see it, leading to an immediate conversation with yourself derived from your ultimate truth. The result of the incident was that you suppressed its urgency number. You take a couple of more steps into the room before realizing that you've just prompted yourself to ignore reading the book. But you're not going to ignore the other 5 tasks that seem semi-urgent. When throwing your present emotion into the void of the future, you also gamble with how fast its urgency number may expand. If it expands quick enough, you'll face the impact of that situation that you could have been avoiding, simply by doing what you ought to rather than want to at that given time. Again, act accordingly. By not reading the literature, a couple of breaking points will be inevitable. To mention a few, number 1, the course will continue while I will struggle to catch up with what's being said at a seminar. Number 2, I'll do something with the time, but to uphold the promise I gave myself earlier that day won't be it. Number 3, my absolute truth will act accordingly and start to creep up in my mind and demand a conversation about accountability. These are all certain realities that will occur with or without you being in a state of active consciousness about the situation at hand. But you see, by prompting your environment, you're prompting yourself to remember which mindset and which mind state is the most effective in the given situation. Do I have a green light right now? If you do, then this is not the time to stop in the middle of the road. Instead, divert your inner voice to answer the questions. How much of my efforts are realistic enough to get done today? We all have long days ahead of us. We all have a lot going on, at least mentally. By investing your time to sort out the thoughts, you will soon start to realize that many of your thoughts have a different relation with and to you, all with individual urgency numbers. By being able to sort out your thoughts, you'll also start to build up an awareness. How many default thoughts need an upgrade? You might be going about your day carrying the dead weight of an old opinion, and that opinion might be interfering with your current reality. For instance, you might not be actively logging how you've spent your day. Yet, if someone was to ask you how your day has been, you might answer from your default state. And for some reason, the negative seems easier to remember than the positive, especially if you're in a state of hangry or fatigue. If time isn't spent on being conscious of your default, it'll take longer to update. All of a sudden, months have passed since the original intention to do something kicks in. Take the time out and upgrade your fundamental answers. When faced with a generic question like, "Hi, how are you?" think of this to serve you as a trigger. Instead of leaning back into a generic answer, try one of your prepared expressions. Or go back to the comedian's methodology from chapter 4. For instance, "Hi, how are you?" One option. "I can't complain, but let's give it a try." Second option. Not sure yet." Third option. "Just saved an ant. Do you want to save another one with me?" Recognizing your default mode is key. By recognizing the loop of a reoccurring situation, you'll have the chance to recognize how to let the subconscious work for you. Remember, it's not about what you're fully conscious of, but conscious enough to actively work, changing a trajectory. Picture this last scene. You're standing up in the middle of a crowded football arena. Everyone can feel the tension in the air as the rival teams have been going at it for the past couple of months. Scandals have emerged. Star players have been incarcerated. Politicians, as well as every last member of the town, came to witness this climatic scenery. The home team struggled to keep the scoreboard from going to overtime. They struggle immensely. The whole left side of the arena watches how the clock slowly moves into minutes. 83, 85, 89. Out of nowhere, a realization is made. The entire supporters' juices align. The blood in everyone's veins start to rush. Now their play isn't aligned. And an inevitable breaking point, is found. The formation is perfectly set. The hope, the pass, the goal. Now hear me out. It's not the goal that I'd like to stress, but the celebration that takes place after the goal. The urgency number's intensity was suddenly raised to plus 80 out of nowhere. How? How could the players not have activated this amount of energy minutes prior to the goal? How can a player celebrate with that amount of joy when nothing external was used? No water, nor food. Just a switch. A switch that's put on once a situation allows for it. The same switch of consciousness you put on when in a crowd and hear your name. The same switch that cuts through a lot of noise, and somehow your number one priority of action plan becomes to locate where it's coming from. Or better yet, when driving on a calm motorway with your mind in the clouds, with a sloppy eye on the road, the same emergency switch you turn on once a car drives onto an entrance ramp without having looked in your direction. Their blind spot. Oblivious to your vehicle, he keeps driving closer and closer and closer. Even though you both know that he should be paying extra attention to his surroundings, he isn't. As your foot hits the brakes, you both realize what could have just happened had you not followed through with your action plan. You acted accordingly, while his face did the same as it filled with shame. He apologizes sincerely with hand gestures for driving recklessly. As you often don't believe in divine intervention, you second guess what just happened. You find an exit and park for a moment. On behalf of everyone around you, please stop at the red light.
Alafu maneno ya Kiingereza. And then the worst part is that he comes and uses those words which I don't even know what they mean. That was the worst.
Yo, what up, what up, what up? Listen, first of all, I told you it was going to be an odd type of journey. Second of all, you could have been anywhere in the world, but you were here with me, and I highly appreciate that. Make sure to go get the book. Make sure to keep pushing forward. Make sure to keep changing what it is that needs to be changed. You're amazing. Remember that. You are amazing. So be amazing and keep being amazing. Stay good. Peace.